You finally committed to retinol or teninoin, but now your makeup looks worse. Your foundation clings, your concealer looks cakey, and everything just looks dry and patchy. What is happening? Today, we're going to talk about how to make your makeup look good when your skin is adjusting to a retinoid. Hi, welcome. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Sam Ellis. I'm a board-certified dermatologist in Northern California, and I'm here to really help you understand your skin and your hair and your nails and how to put your best self forward. I share tips and tricks on this channel as well as great product recommendations every single week. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you hit that like button. I really wanted to make this video because so many of my patients, my friends, even I have experienced this, where you finally start your retinol or your teninoin. You're so proud of yourself for engaging on this anti-aging skincare routine, but then your makeup looks horrible. You look 5 years older and it kind of feels like it defeats the purpose. And I feel like a lot of people kind of give up on their retinol at that point because they're like, it doesn't work for me. I'm never gonna get it to work with my makeup. But the reality is when you are acclimating to your retinoid, your skin is changing, but you haven't updated your makeup routine. And once you do that, everything is gonna be in harmony. This is really all about strategy. So first we're going to kind of talk about what's going on when this happens. And then we're going to talk about products you should use and products you should definitely stay away from. And then I'm going to sort of give you my ideal morning and nighttime routine as well as makeup routine so you can have the most success with your retinol and making your makeup look good while you're using it. And for simplicity's sake for this video, just so you know, I'm going to be saying retinols. And that really means any of the retinoids that you might be using in your routine, whether it's your prescription teninoin that you're using for anti-aging or acne, adapalene, retinaldehyde, whatever retinoid you're using, this information will apply. But I'm going to be saying retinol for all intents and purposes. I think one of the most important things to understand when you are incorporating retinol into your skincare routine is that it's not going to immediately improve your texture and your fine lines. What it's really doing is changing your skin on a microscopic level. One thing retinol does is it speeds up skin cell turnover, which is amazing for dullness and brightening the skin and helping with hyperpigmentation. But it also means you can have these little microflakes that sit on the skin, which are further exacerbated by the fact that when you have that increased skin cell turnover, the layers of dead skin cells on the surface of your skin, which are important and help protect your skin, start to become looser. That allows them to turn over more quickly. So when you go and apply makeup, and especially if you are buffing with your brush or you're really aggressive with your fingers, it's gonna lead those flakes to want to clump up on each other. Retinol can also suppress your oil gland function a little bit. That's actually one of the ways it's so helpful for acne. But if you combine skin that's quickly turning over with dryness and less oil production, that is also going to lead your skin to feeling dusty or crusty, which is only further exacerbated when you put powdery makeup on top. So how do we adjust our makeup approach so that it plays nice with how our skin is reacting to our retinol? Number one, I recommend staying away from any mattifying formulas because you might have a little bit of suppressed oil function from your retinol. If you then also use a mattifying formula, which is essentially designed to absorb oil, your skin is gonna look so dry. It's also why I generally have people skip alcohol-based primers or setting sprays. Those really work by, again, creating this very dry, clean canvas. But if you're using a retinoid, your skin is already leaning dry, so we don't wanna suck the moisture out even more. And I also generally really recommend limiting the powders. Yes, some people need some powder to set things in place, but you have to have such a delicate hand when it comes to powder application again, so things don't look dry or patchy. Actually, if you need some more powder tips, I absolutely recommend checking out my video on anti-aging makeup because a lot of mature skin will also struggle with powders looking too powdery, and I have tons of tips and product recommendations in that video. So we're gonna limit the mattifying formulas. We're gonna reduce the alcohol-based setting sprays, and we are also going to limit or be strategic about our powders. But what are we gonna do? I'm gonna take you through my entire retinol acclimation routine. So we're gonna include skin and care in here and makeup. Let's start with the morning routine, and I'm imagining you used your retinol last night and we woke up and now what do? I don't like to be too prescriptive when it comes to skincare because everyone's skin is different, but we are really going to focus in on hydration, moisturization, and barrier support. How you prep your skin before you apply makeup makes the biggest difference. It makes a big difference even if you don't have retinol in your routine and you're not struggling with flaking, but it is especially important if your skin is transitioning through this step. Generally, when you wake up, most people want to wash their face, and you absolutely can. If you wake up feeling oily, but if you wake up and your skin is not oily, there is really no need for you to wash your face in the morning. You can just splash a little bit of water on your face and then pat it dry. And then while your skin is just the tiniest bit damp, I love going in with a hydration serum. You can certainly pick your favorite hydration serum. I am a big fan of my Prequel Multi-Quench Plumping Hydration Serum. This uses polyglutamic acid, which not only helps draw water to the skin surface and plump it immediately, it also helps with skin barrier support and repair. Once that's on, we're going to go in with a barrier supporting moisturizer. And how thick or thin your moisturizer is going to be very dependent on what you enjoy putting on in the morning. I love my Prequel half and half fluid moisturizer if I want something that's a little bit silkier and thinner. I use my Am lotion if I want something that's sort of mid-weight. And then I use my Barrier Therapy lotion, which is actually so incredible if you're trying to tolerate your tanino. And if I want something a bit richer, I tend to have a pretty minimalist morning routine. And a lot of times I don't apply moisturizer because I find sunscreen to be fairly moisturizing for my skin. But if I were adapting to a retinoid or I found that my skin was looking cakey or flaky with my makeup, I absolutely would start adding in a moisturizer step before my sunscreen, which brings me to the next step, which is after your hydration serum, after your moisturizer, put that sunscreen on. I also want to mention how you're applying your skincare to your skin matters. And normally I would say whatever, just put it on. There's no perfect way to do this. And certainly there is no one right way, but I would say if your skin is feeling sensitive or a little bit fragile from your retinol, be gentle with your application. I would not be giving myself a full intense massage while I'm applying my moisturizer. And I would also try to limit how much I'm manipulating the skin around my mouth and around my nose and on my chin, because these tend to be the areas that get the most flaky and peely and sensitive when you're using a retinol. Now for makeup, I have a few favorites here, and I really feel like when your skin is going through it, less is more. I feel like especially if you're on a retinoid for your acne, your instinct is to put as much makeup on as possible and try and cover everything. But I think it is much better to have a little bit of acne showing through or some visible blemishes than putting on a full, thick, high coverage foundation and then watching it break up and cake up over the course of the day, because your skin is also adapting to your retinoid. Also, if you have a foundation that you love and it's a great color match for you, another thing you can think about doing is putting a little bit of your hydrating serum, or if you have a thinner moisturizer, into your foundation. They will not always play nice together, so I recommend you try this out, not when you're trying to get ready really fast and go somewhere, but for a lot of people, you're going to be able to put your moisturizer or your hydrating serum into your foundation and create a lighter coverage product that also has some really nice hydrating and moisturizing properties. I feel like I see Hailey Bieber do this all the time. I doubt she's struggling with the retinol uglies, which is what we call these little peely things, but she does mix in her glazing milk into foundations or into concealers, and it always looks so beautiful. So less generally is definitely more in this case. But if you want something that's really gonna help cover redness and discoloration, one of my all-time favorite foundations is from CL. I've talked about this foundation a lot on this channel. I just think it is so incredible. It's very liquidy, and what I love about it is you can apply it with your fingertips. It applies essentially like a moisturizer. And that was gonna be my next tip, is when you have more sensitive skin from your retinol. Instead of applying with a brush and buffing things in, use your fingers. That's a lot less friction on your skin. It's gonna be a lot less likely to sort of clump up those little microflakes that are going on. Or you can use something like a damp beauty blender, just tapping a sponge over your skin rather than rubbing or scrubbing with a brush. I'm also a really big fan of the Hourglass Skin Tint. This doesn't have as much coverage as the CL, but gives a really beautiful wash of color on the skin. And I find it's really not irritating to the skin, which is important as well. And I also think it's really important to ask yourself here, why am I applying makeup? Am I trying to even out my skin tone? What am I really trying to cover up? Because I feel like a lot of people apply foundation out of habit and they don't even need to be putting on that much makeup. I much prefer, if my skin is getting a little sensitive to my retinoid, to just go in and sort of spot treat with my concealer. I'll do things like my chin a little bit for the redness around my nose, my under eyes, but in general, I'm trying to keep my skin as makeup free as possible and really let my skincare do the work. Once your base is in place, then you can go in with bronzer or blush if you want to add that into your makeup routine. And I typically recommend going in with cream-based products because they have those sort of emollient moisturizing properties. They're going to be a lot less likely than powder blushes or powder bronzers to get cakey on your skin. And then this is also key. Plan to check in on your makeup every couple of hours. I know that sounds a little bit insane, but I feel like the biggest issue when you're adapting to retinol is you think you're doing okay and then you check your makeup like 5 hours later and you look insane. It's breaking up all over your face. If you know, you know. If this hasn't happened to you, you are blessed. So I like to have like little check-ins scheduled where I can just like check out my makeup, make sure it's doing okay. And if I'm starting to see the makeup break up or peel off, I will just take like a damp beauty blender, so a damp makeup sponge, and take a tiny bit of my concealer or sometimes just plain water to sort of tap over those areas. Not to be so pro-prequel here, but we are a barrier support skincare line. And the new multi-quench hydration mist is perfect for this as well. You can either spray it onto a beauty blender sponge or you can spray it directly on your face, and it really helps kind of melt your makeup back down and into place. So that's what I recommend for makeup. That's how I like to touch it up. And I also really encourage you to limit how much you are touching your face during the day. It is something we do so subconsciously. But every time your fingers come up to meet the skin on your face, it's creating friction and it's creating a higher probability that you're going to dislodge some of those microflakes and create some of that irritation around your mouth or nose or literally anywhere on your face. So we got through our day. Now it's nighttime. How do we do our retinol routine so that our skin barrier is the most supported and it can really sing the next day? I always really like to start with a double cleanse. I use an oil-based cleanser first and then a gentle water-based cleanser. This allows me to have an incredibly thorough cleanse, but be gentle with each step. Typically, I find my oil cleanser to remove most of my makeup. So I do 4 to 5 pumps into my hand. I massage it well into my skin and I kind of rinse it clean. And then I'll just use a gentle cleanser thereafter to clean up anything else that could be left on the skin. We want to be working with a clean canvas that is makeup free. Then I go in with moisturizer. You might be thinking, I thought we're doing retinol tonight. Yes, we will be putting our retinol on, but I really am a huge fan of that sandwich method where you apply a thin layer of moisturizer, then your retinol product, then another layer of moisturizer to essentially buffer the retinol and really support your skin barrier from above and from below. And if you're watching this and that feels like overkill, if you're peeling from your retinol, it's not overkill, and how you make your little sandwich is very personal to you. I actually like to use different pieces of bread, if you will. I'll go in with my prequel half and half on the bottom. Sometimes I'll use my hydration serum, but usually I use my half and half. Then I will apply my retinoid, and then I will use a thicker moisturizer on top. Now, if you're having a lot of irritation around your nose and mouth, like you have stinging and big flakes and it's not getting better, rather than just putting down a layer of moisturizer as your first layer, I would put down an elusive ointment like Vaseline or Aqua Or and completely buffer those areas from your retinoid. And then as your skin adapts, you can start putting a thinner and thinner layer of that on your skin until you can switch to just moisturizer. And then maybe one day you can apply your retinoid just to dry skin and then go in with your moisturizer on top. And you can see here in both my morning routine and in my evening routine, I haven't done any acids, I haven't used any vitamin C, nothing else that could potentially irritate my skin. This is all about support, support, support. It doesn't mean that those things can't come into my routine at a later time, but if I'm still in the phase where my retinol is causing irritation and peeling, it's not time to add those in yet. I mentioned that because that's a mistake I see pretty commonly. People struggling to tolerate their retinoid, but they're also including acids in their routine or vitamin C. And so their skin really never has the opportunity to recover and strengthen itself. And if we're talking about anti-aging treatments, retinol is the most effective thing. So it's really important to prioritize that. And let's say you've been doing a routine like this for many months and your skin is still getting peely and flaky when you apply your makeup the next day. That typically means that you are not tolerating the retinoid strength that you are using. And it's okay to go down in strength or switch to a less potent form of retinoid. So if you're using teninoin, maybe switching down to adipoline or retinaldehyde or even retinol, and this is something you can absolutely strategize with your dermatologist about. I could talk about retinoids all day long with my patients. For example, I had a patient very recently who I've been seeing for years, and then for the past like 6 months or so, every time she came in, I just felt like her skin looked kind of dry and flaky. And so one day I was just like, what's going on here? And she was like, I cannot use my teninoin successfully, and I've tried all the things you recommended. And so what we did is we dropped her down to the retinaldehyde from Prequel, which is a newer product, and it's less intense, and she's tolerating it now, beautifully. She's so happy with how her skin is doing. I do this all the time for my patients. I will transition them from teninoin down to retinol or retinaldehyde. That is not a failure. That is a redirection. It's the whole reason with Prequel I wanted to create a retinaldehyde product, because I had so many patients struggling to tolerate their teninoin either on their face or on their neck and chest. And I wanted them to have options where they could still be really successful and see great anti-aging benefits, but not put their skin through it constantly with teninoin. So before we wrap up, I just want to give you a little bit of a mindset shift. Retinol absolutely is not supposed to make your makeup look worse in the long run. We are using it to enhance the quality and the health of our skin. And ultimately, after a few months of using it consistently, your skin should look better with makeup. And if it's not, we should start implementing some of these tools and consider dropping down the strength of our retinol. If you get to the point where the flaking is completely gone, you can start adding in some of your old makeup favorites. So if you've made these adjustments, it doesn't mean that the makeup you used to use can't be part of your routine ever again. We just need to be strategic about bringing it back in and making sure we're really meeting our skin where it's at. If you're struggling on your retinol journey, let us know in the comments what's been the hardest part. And if you are really thriving on your retinol journey, let us know in the comments what products or practices have really worked for you. I love seeing you guys help each other out. As always, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video, and I will catch you in my next one.